Well, the collaboration conundrum is actually more than one conundrum, so there are conundrums. It's really around how most organisations now are virtualising, some of them are globalising. We don't necessarily see or meet the people that we work with, we don't necessarily see or meet our customers on a very regular basis, and that is great in one sense, but I keep saying my brain is still on brain 1.0 rather than brain 2.0. I've yet to be upgraded. So that there are lots of little things around collaboration, around trust. How do we start to trust people we don't meet on a regular basis? But then how do we actually get to collaborate when we're not necessarily in the same office? We might not be in the same country. How do we create collaboration? Now, I work for a technology company, I work for BT, we sell collaboration tools. I mean, there's lots of them. That does not magically mean that people collaborate. So a lot of what we're trying to do is to get under the bonnet of collaboration. So collaboration doesn't happen by magic, it needs purpose. So actually in terms of marketing can help create purpose for collaboration. In terms of the tools, there are many. We know face-to-face is the most valuable. How do we create physical spaces like office spaces where collaboration is enabled rather than having lines of desks or forcing people together and believing that just by breathing the same air they may collaborate? And then how do we create, as leaders, how do we create common ground to bring people together, whether they're in physical or virtual space, and really start to look at what tools are most appropriate rather than necessarily defaulting to email, for example, which is a terrible collaboration tool. It's a very good information tool, but there are tons of collaboration tools out there, rich ones like video, like audio conferencing, and then in the digital space, things like enterprise social media. Again, looks a really good collaboration tool. Actually, it often fails because people don't know what it is for. So how do we create the purpose to enable those tools to work? And then as we go into the future, potentially, how could we use things like virtual reality or augmented reality to bring a sense of presence, to actually enable our brain 1.0 to start to trust people more instinctively by building in the kind of things that we would have in everyday life into our collaboration spaces. So really the collaboration conundrum is around, as we separate out and diversify as organisations, how do we create common ground, common platforms, and not just on a technical level, the leaders that can start to connect people together and actually create that purpose for collaboration rather than the traditional command and control leadership. So I think marketers need to pay attention to a number of things this year. I do a lot on consumer behaviour as well as employee behaviour, and consumers are very much wanting to have a personalised experience. So using your data better is one thing around how do you actually create a much more personalised experience across all channels as well. So we've got this omni-channel piece. So we start with personalisation. We've then got things like proactivity. If you know about your customer, how can you maybe be a little bit more proactive with their needs? And then of course, as you take it more into the future, we've got things like predictive. Things like big data analytics and artificial intelligence, machine learning. All of those kind of technologies could potentially start to predict what your customers might want. The snag there is you might cross the creepy line. Some people have indeed already crossed the creepy line. So if a company knows more about me than I know about myself, is that creepy? And that's where you get into issues around, data and whether customers are willing to share their data, which comes back down to something very simple, which is the WIFMs, I call it, the what's in it for me. So as a customer, if I'm going to share my data with you, what am I going to get back? I call this the me economy. So actually, if I'm trading my data with you, what do you give me back? So do you make life easier for me? Do you personalise stuff? Do you actually remind me of things that I really want? So I think there's a lot that we need to think about. A lot of it is around this horrible concept of big data. I hate that word. There's lots of data out there, but actually how do we use our analytics tools better to understand what customers want, and then how do we make experiences easier and more personalised for customers?